Brothers in arms. Colonel Greybeard plucked a green apple from a low-hanging branch and bit into it. The mouthful was more acidic than the ones supplied to them by Sector Command. The tree had probably metabolized some of the pagal's base waste products. The aliens' next step in their conquest would probably be to terraform the Earth to their species. Oh well, he thought. Just a little more work for his upgraded liver than usual as he took another bite. There was a burst of static from their radio operator, and then Sergeant Pepper's electronic voice sounded off on his headgear. "We have confirmation on strike orders, sir," she said. At least the engineers had given her a female's tone. "All armies are moving in on their targets." Finally, after 15 years of occupation, Earth was going to be reclaimed. "Relay advance orders to all quadrants and regiments." Greybeard told her, and then opened his own intercom to communicate with his regiment. "Move in to deployment zone. Enforced radio silence." He advanced through the deep vegetation of Senegal's forest. The advanced scouts had already marked all pagal traps and sensors with smell warnings. He took a last bite off the green apple and threw it on the jungle ground. Pungent smell reached his nostrils, and he veered to the left, following the line of soldiers in front of him as they zigzagged their way inside the pagal outer perimeter. The pagal loved moist, humid zones. The winter weather on their home planet was like being in our Amazon during the summer. All gates were built close to the equator, with the exception of the two placed each poles. The pagal were crafty creatures. They had played on humanity's need for clean energy to infiltrate the world. First, they sent as much as they could about themselves in an open-ended message. SETI and other people searching the skies believed that the pagal message wasn't aimed at Earth or any other specific planet. It was an open presentation of a sentient civilization to anyone who could listen. A message that included the gifts of advanced mathematics and technology. There was no way to answer back. Any communication was prohibited by distance, and the scientists took that as a sign of good faith that the pagal weren't interested in invasion or destruction, only in altruistic contact. After the initial message came other things. Their history, philosophy, and even religions, which some decided had many convergence points with our own religions. The pagal had supposedly already united their world into a cohesive government. They had already passed the stage where their civilization could be wiped out by any planetary disaster, and were now looking for similar intelligent life forms in the galaxy. They hoped the universe was not a dark forest full of fearful civilizations, but a neighborhood of friends. Brothers in sentience was how the scientists had translated the message. The signals kept coming: advanced math, then cheap energy generation, new materials and fabrication processes, new technology that could be applied from medicine to computing and engineering and robotics. All of it beneficial if used under control. Everything free of charge, because even though humanity had sent a message towards the point of origin of pagal signal, thousands of years would pass before it would reach them. The world changed, and civilization flourished. Humanity stripped down its country boundaries and united in a true world government. In 60 short years, humanity had been transformed by the signal from our brothers from space. The pinnacle came when scientists revealed the creation of the first human AI interface using some pagal schematics, but mostly human ingenuity. Now humanity had the chance of eternal existence, if not life, through computers. Some joked that the only thing missing from our space benefactors was the old How to Serve Man cookbook. They couldn't have been closer to the truth. The last part of the signal called for a star bridge. Scientists on Earth theorized that it was an instrument, a wormhole that could transverse the space between the pagal homeworld and Earth. After much consideration, humanity decided to build a small one-way version of the bridge and send explorers and a thank you message to the pagal, and it was the last thing they did as a civilization. Because of the magnetic and gravity requirements, 6 gates had been built. 2 anchors in the poles, and another 4 along the equator, and then, after much consideration, and what could be accounted as an almost unanimous vote cast by the whole population, the bridge had been activated. Colonel Greybeard stopped cold. A pagal guardian orb approached his position. The scouts couldn't predict when or where this flying sentries would appear. Once the armies of Earth were positioned around their targets, it wouldn't matter that 1 or 1,000 gave the alarm. But it wasn't yet the moment to strike. Graybeard kept his gaze locked on the orb, and the orb approached him. It had surely detected him, so there was only one thing to do. The colonel screamed at it and jumped as if trying to grab it. Those soldiers closest to him did the same, arms flailing wildly at the orb. The orb flew up, distancing itself from the army, and then, just as the colonel expected an artillery barrage to come from the pagal's base, it turned around and flew towards another sector. "Skirmishers in position," Pepper reported through the intercom, awaiting confirmation from all strike forces, T-3 minutes. Colonel Graybeard settled down just outside the Nagal's base, awaiting for the confirmation. The smug bastards had known all along what would happen once their bridge signal was decoded, and they also knew what humanity would do and how would they try to use the bridge to thank their benefactors. Their one-way bridge was a ruse, as effective as the Trojan horse history had been in the training Graybeard and the soldiers at his command had received. A pagal walked out from the building closest to the bridge. It was wearing a simple suit that fitted completely to its body. They were bipeds, with long arms and even longer legs, but not strong as it would befit the image of a race of world conquerors. More walked about the compound, secure in the knowledge that there was no one to challenge their supremacy over Earth. The bridge hummed, and then there was a flash as more pagal aliens, colonists, and equipment came through the gate. Colonel Graybeard felt just a little pinprick in his brain when the gate had activated. It was a pinprick he knew his soldiers felt too. That pinprick had been the key to conquering Earth. One of the pagal approached his hiding place. Maybe they could see in a different spectrum. Maybe they heard better or sensed his mind. Graybeard didn't care. He waited for the pagal to approach him. Soon the all-clear signal would come, and he would die along the others of his treacherous race. The transport bridge had been calibrated for humans, and it was humans that were killed the moment the bridge had been activated. A wave of energy had covered the world and immediately fried the brains of every man, woman, and child in the planet. It had then expanded outwards and fried all humans in space as far as Mars' newly formed colony. Only those shielded by planetary bodies or those inside asteroids had been spared. Human population went from 13 billion to less than 30,000 in less than 3 seconds, all because of pagal treachery and human goodwill. The base on the dark side of the moon became the center of the resistance and the main human settlement in the solar system. "Insertion," Pepper's voice said on the con, and the skirmishers broke through the jungle lines. Dogs and cats led the charge, followed by lions, tigers, and wolves. They were the skirmishers, the fast soldiers, but they would be followed by the heavy foot soldiers, bears, monkeys, horses, those that could break doors and infiltrate those buildings the pagal had flimsily built in the hubris of the conqueror. It was poetic that the downfall for the pagal would be caused by themselves. Almost at the same time that humanity had found a kinship to its space brothers, it had developed the same for its Earth brothers. Thanks to pagal technology, men had given the gift of sentience through their AI to many of the animals that shared the world with him. Animals became guardians of the wild, partners in fisheries, friends in conservation, consultants in the wild. Pets had always considered themselves family. With their families dead, the pets, friends, and partners of humanity became the new soldiers of Earth. And they fell on top of the pagal with all the ferocity humans had bred out from them. Unnatural screams filled the compound as the pagal were attacked and dismembered by the warriors. The one closest to Graybeard looked around trying to understand what was happening when the colonel jumped over him and broke both his arms as easily as he could do a twig on the forest. The pagal screamed, and Graybeard sat on top of him. Looking around at the chaos in that base and listening to the reports of similar attacks on all pagal outposts, he smiled and leered at this would-be conqueror. "We know that you come through a one-way bridge," he told the pagal, not caring if the alien understood him or not. "We will leave it open, and we kill all those that come through, and then, when we are ready, we will go back and kill your world." Then the colonel screamed and hooted, and the closest soldiers joined in with him, and deep in his brain, a memory of when they had been simple chimpanzees awoke for just a second.